Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about being a brand. So I'm Daniel Norton. I'm a photographer here in New York. I make videos like this. This one's going to be, I guess, about business. It's also a little bit about philosophy, but I make other videos about technique and gear and stuff like that. So if you're interested in those things, go ahead and subscribe. So this one comes from, I was actually listening to the radio earlier, and there's this company, it's a contracting company around here. They do, like, I guess, home repair or whatever. And they have this whole ad that they've been running for years now, and it's like, a brand is blah blah, and it talks about, well, their main like line that they pitch is that business is not all about making money, which I think is kind of interesting, and I kind of agree with. So I was like, oh, okay. But they talk about building a brand, and I thought, you know what, this is really interesting because it ties into the whole idea that we have about style, right? You know, that we always talk about in photography. I feel like your brand is connected to your style. The main difference is that I would say your style is part of your brand. In a way. Like, when I talk about brand, I talk about the idea that, like, how do people perceive you in your business, as it would be. Most of us as photographers are just a single entity. You know, maybe you're a collaborator and you work with another photographer. You're part of, like, you have, let's say, especially maybe in the case of like wedding studios, you might have like 2 or 3 photographers that follow under the same like banner. What is it that makes your brand, right? And I think that a lot of people, well, it's what I'm going to say, which is kind of backwards, but it's I think it's very interesting in what I've learned through doing this. Many people that go into business, if you start reading articles about starting a business and you're like, I need a brand, and we're going to think about our thing, and we're going to have our logos made and all this other stuff, and if you just do that out of the blue, in the end, it may not actually work, and you may have to rebrand yourself, because you can't, when you're a creative, your brand is at least partially just going to be who you are, and sometimes some of us don't really know who we are. We think we do, you know. We think we know who we are. We think we can say, yeah, I'm the person that does blah blah. But it's not so much as, like I've said this before, but you're not a fashion photographer until people call you a fashion photographer. That's kind of how I feel about branding. You know, I think that, yeah, you have to do something at first. You perceive how you want to be perceived, or I should say, you're going to put out there how you want to be perceived. But I think as you start to work more and you pick up clients and you start doing different things, what you have to be able to realize or take in is, how do people see you? And if they're not seeing you the way you want them to, you need to change your actions, obviously. But if you're happy with it and it's working for you, then you really need to look at your brand and kind of work around that, right? You need to think, well, you know what? I'm perceived as the person that, whatever, shoots this way, or that does this, or that has a lot of fun and people are laughing, and whatever it could be, you know. This becomes your brand, right? And then your logos and your design and stuff like that should really work with it. So what I would say for photographers in general, if you are just starting and you're like, I'm going to do a business, maybe don't go so heavy into the graphic design and stuff when you're first starting. Maybe just get out there and keep it really simple and worry more about creating amazing images and amazing relationships with people, because then once you've done that, your brand, the brand itself, will just become natural. It'll become you because it is you. And I think that's the way that, for individual people, you know, like single entrepreneurs, especially in the arts, that's really how we have to think. You know, your brand is you. But if you don't know, you know, who you are, I guess, as an artist, it's going to be hard to just brand yourself. So instead of trying to force yourself to fit a certain mold that you read somewhere was a good way to get clients, go out there, work, make connections, and really analyze how people see you. You know, ask people if you have to. I think ultimately, if you're doing a good job and you build up, especially if you build up kind of regular clients, they will just tell you. You know, people will say, I get comments all the time from people that are my regular people I shoot with, or clients or whatever, that say things like, oh, that's very, you know, on brand with Daniel Norton, or they don't necessarily say brand, but they, you know, they say that's very Daniel, you know, and that's because that's my brand, right? They've come to expect a certain thing, and you can formulate everything else you do around that. So I hope that was helpful. I'm curious how you guys approach this. Did you guys, did anybody out there who has a business go out there and like hire a graphic designer and get all this stuff done before you really started working? Do you guys even worry about that stuff, or do you just shoot and throw your portfolio out there and be like, this is who I am? I'm really curious what you guys think about branding, how you're doing it. And if you're a professional marketing person, you want to chime in and tell me, you know, whatever, I would also like to hear that. So any of that stuff's super useful to me, guys. We really want to have a conversation here. So let me know what your brand is and what you think about, or how you achieved it, how you get that out there. And if you haven't already, guys, go ahead, subscribe, ring the bell so you get the notifications, and I'll see you next time.